Welcome into the UConn baseball pitchers preview as we're joined with assistant coach, the D1 baseball assistant coach of the year, Josh MacDonald. Josh, thanks for taking the time. I know your time is very valuable, so thanks for taking some time with us.
You're welcome. As you can see, we're live streaming this from heaven behind me. So, there's some perks that come with that award, and that happens to be one of them.
All right, let's get into it. We'll start with starting rotation. Obviously, some 4-game series. I think 3 4-game series that you're going to play in the early part of the season. Just talk a little bit about what you're going to do in terms of your rotation moving forward. What guys were you able to extend out in the preseason, and what does it look like going into this weekend against Ohio State?
I actually love the idea of playing a couple 4-game series early on in the year to try to learn a little bit about some of our pitchers. We have to replace our entire starting staff for the most part on the weekends. So this will give us a lot of opportunity to kind of see what they can do. And it's against really quality opponents too. There's no, it doesn't seem like there's any layups early on here. So it's going to test them. It's going to test them, pretty hard here early. And hopefully we guessed it right. We should be able to hang in all these games and compete. But again, we should learn a lot by the time we come back from spring break. And by the time we start Big East play, we should know a lot about our team.
So who are some of those guys vying for starting rotation here as we enter the first weekend, a couple days away?
We're replacing those 3 guys from last year. It's not going to be an easy task. They were so good and so consistent, and so awesome. But I think when you're starting rotation off with Ian Cook, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. He pitched in 2 winner-take-all games. He started them. I know the Stanford game, he wasn't feeling great. We had to get him out of there, but we thought he pitched really well against Maryland. We didn't really help him out defensively there in his last inning or so. But considering the fact that one of the first pitches of the game they threw was hit out and the place was rocking, that he was able to kind of, calm not just himself but our team back down. It was really remarkable. I don't know if I've had many pitchers, forget freshman, junior, senior, you name it, that would have been able to do that. So, we're excited about him. He was a little banged up in the fall, had some knee pain, was able to get a scope surgery done on that. And he hasn't had any setbacks. So we're able to go right away with him. And then following him up, Saturday, we're going to start Jack Sullivan, a guy who was a great reliever for us last year. A guy, again, he pitched in the regional, he pitched in super regional very well for us. He pitched in the Cape this summer. But the thing that I was noticing with Jack was that his performance wasn't always as dominant. Sometimes it seemed like he had to just kind of, got through it last year. And I think a lot of that had to do with, he just wasn't very comfortable, figuring out, ways to, manage being a reliever. Being a reliever, although you may not pitch as many innings, it's pretty difficult for some guys to figure out. I remember Tim Cate. There's no way I would have ever been able to do that with Tim, and I think Jack might be in the same boat where, as long as he has his schedules week and how to kind of, maintain his body, I think we're going to get the best Jack Sullivan. And he has been awesome. He's been so good in our preseason. Again, he's a guy that, when he's on the mound, he doesn't really seem affected by the things going on around him. So there's a real calming feeling when he's on the mound. So he's going to get Saturday. Sunday's going to be Andrew Sears to start. Really good left-handed arm, D3 All-American, he's a scout's dream. He's big, he's strong. He throws from a funky slot. He has some swing and miss stuff. The things that we had to kind of, help him out with was just, things that he probably didn't have to deal with as much last year, pitching with runners on, he had to get a little better at, learning our science and our system, he had to get better at, but, I think if he goes out there and he doesn't try to do more than what he's capable of, he's a really tough guy to hit. It doesn't matter, really if you're lefty or righty, it's just something that you don't really see very often. If he can have some success early, he could be one of the better pitchers we've had here. And then the last guy on Monday is going to be Stephen Quigley, another D3 All-American. Won a lot of games at Wheaton. Just incredible poise. His stuff reminds me a lot of Pat Gallagher. He has a fastball, a good changeup, above average breaking ball. And the thing I also like about him is that because he was a shortstop, for a couple of years, starting shortstop for Wheaton, he really knows how to play, how to field his position. You're getting a plus defender on the mound, which you don't really think about, but again, it's a certain plus to have. He might be our best fielding pitcher, maybe since Anthony Kay, in terms of being able to, really, field the ball and make accurate throws and things like that. So those four guys will be the guys at least to start the year that will get the first crack. And then the other guys who are there, Braden Quinn, who started a little bit at times last year. We're going to start him off in the pen. Again, lefty, can get up into the low 90s, plus breaking ball, tough. But he had a lot of success out of that bullpen last year for us towards the end. So we're going to start him there. And Garrett Coe. Garrett Coe Garrett Coe to me is more like he's kind of like when you call the fire department when something's not going well. You bring him in, he puts the fire out, and he gives your team a chance to win. You could bring Garrett in the second inning, and he can shut a team down to the sixth while your bats start to come back into it. So that's a really hard thing for most guys to do. Garrett's so good at it that we're going to keep him there.
You mentioned Andrew Sears and Stephen Quigley. You have a bunch of quality transfer arms that have come in this year. Can you mention some of the other ones that you haven't yet? Yeah,
I guess we'll start off with Quigley's brother, Michael. Michael was a highly touted arm that we to UMass Lowell, and I know that they tried him in a couple different roles, and for whatever reason, it didn't really work out. And when he reached out to us to come in, there was certainly interest there because of the talent of the arm. We've kind of boiled it down to try to make him maybe a 1 inning guy, maybe a little bit more than that, but in 1 inning, he's able to really, really hone in on his stuff, and his stuff can be anywhere between, 94 to 96 with a really plus breaking ball. And, so I think he's a guy that, again, I think if we can keep him in that role, I think he'll be really, really good for us. Another guy that we brought in was Will Nowak. Who's kind of did a bunch of different things for Hartford in recent years. He was a closer. At times last year, we're starting for him. Again, I think he's probably best suited in the pen. So he brings experience. He's 90 to 92. He has a really, really nice little slider, and he's got toughness to him. So, we like him. Dom Freeberger, from UNC Asheville. I know he's kind of our Swiss Army knife, but he was also their closer. So, we'd be stupid not to try and figure out a way to use him as well. And then Zach Fogel. Zach Fogel was a guy who was pitching. He was a weekend starter for Brown. He's another one that we've noticed that if you kind of concentrate and make him concentrate his volume and make him throw 1 or 2 innings. He is really tough to hit. He's got really good stuff. He fits in perfectly, kind of what we were looking for in our staff. We want another lefty for late innings. I think he's going to be able to do that. Again, another guy with a slow heartbeat, calm demeanor, but he's tough. He competes when he's out there. So we were able to find some good pieces to really help us.
Let's go to the back end of the bullpen. You guys are fortunate, able to get 2 really quality arms, Justin Willis and Devin Kirby. That are going to be back there. Are there any other guys that you've seen in the preseason throughout the fall that could potentially help those guys out in the back end of the pen?
Yeah. One of the cool things that I did yesterday, just to kind of explain to the guys how I think we're going to be able to attack it this year is, when we've gone into regionals the past couple of years, one thing that I've always, hope to notice is that, you want to have more, you almost want to win with quantity. You know what I mean? Quality is great too, but if you can have enough guys that you can keep throwing at offenses, I mean, you see when you get into the men's region, you're going to face good offenses. So, like even last year with Stanford, I mean, Stanford was kicking the crap out of us. It seemed like there for about, from the ninth inning on in the first game to like the fourth inning in that second game. Then Coach Joshua just came and just flattened them for like 4 innings. Thank God. Thank God, because we felt like it kept most of our guys intact to go after them on Sunday. So that's the kind of thing that we're hoping for with this year, is just to have, a lot of good quantity back there. So yeah, Justin and Devin obviously can close for us, but guys who have, I asked them, hey, raise your hand if you got in the last out of a playoff game in your college career. Nowak did it. Nowak did it. Freeberger did it. Garrett Coe did it. So we have a bunch of guys who've done it. Brady Afton did it in the summer. Stephen Quigley did it in the summer one year. So we have a lot of guys who we can go to finish the game off. I think, Afton is certainly in that list. I mean, he may have pound for pound the best stuff on the team. He could throw 1 inning, he could throw 3 innings, he's awesome and he's tough and we love him. And then obviously the other guys in the pen, I think I've already kind of spoke to. I think it's going to be a combination of Coe and Quinn and Nowak and Quigley. I think those guys together will be a pretty, formidable task for a line to have to go through.
We'll finish out with the freshmen. I'll even include Tommy Ellison, who's part of just that really good recruiting class last year of Brady and Sully and Quinn and Cook. And obviously he didn't get to see the mound last year, but besides Ellison, I obviously talk about him a little bit, but are there any other freshman first year players that we could see on the mound this year?
Yeah. Ellison, he was a guy who admitted like he only played 1 year varsity baseball in high school. He was a 2-way. He was an outfielder pitcher. So when he came in, he was even doing some of the outfield work. He was good. But I think this is really the first time in his life where he probably concentrated not just on pitching, but just on like one sport, one specific thing to do in a sport. He played football and basketball. So Tommy he's a great athlete. We don't like to tell him that too much because then we got to hear about it. But I mean, he really is. I mean, he's every bit of 6'4". He's 210 pounds now. He can run. He's got, he has the, really long arms and, everything works. And for us, we've really seen him develop here over the last year. And last year we liked him because he is tough. I think he would have been able to handle it last year. It's just that, he couldn't get the consistency to where I felt it would help him to burn his year. That pitching staff last year was pretty good, that I didn't feel like that would have been right. This year, he's going to be, leaned on. I didn't mention him early because I knew that you were going to talk about him a little bit later, but he's going to be in the bullpen. He's a guy that could start for us. I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the year, he was starting big games for us. And everybody roots for him. Because I think everybody deep down, knows that, that how much he works, how much, he cares about it. He's just, like I said, he's a really, really good pitcher. And when it's all said and done, like you said, you mentioned that really, great class they had last year. I wouldn't be shocked if Tommy, surpasses those guys, all of them, in professional baseball, because, again, he really, he has, the total package. The other new guys that I think that could see and really help us out, I think Jude Abadess is one of them. The Little League World Series hero over there. Besides his Instagram numbers, he can pitch. He reminds me of Marrero in many ways, especially Marrero in his first year. There's times where he goes out there and he's absolutely electric. There's times where he's still, I think, kind of adjusting to maybe the speed of the game. Sometimes he's out there and he has a hard time, stopping and, things like that, all things that all freshmen have. But one thing that sets him apart from the rest of his freshman class is his ability to adapt and adjust when things don't go his way. You know, he pitched even this past weekend. His first inning was not very good. Came out the second inning was great. So that's a really rare trait these days with some of the younger players, and he has that. We're really excited to work with him. And another guy that has come along is a guy that actually tried out with us last fall, Joe Correa. You know, Joe Correa, you know, he came out, you know, he wanted to come to school here. You know, I kind of told him not to. I thought it would be a really tough year for him to make the team. You know, he kind of, you know, he has self-confidence and pride, and he came out and it didn't go so hot for him. And I was, pretty brutally blunt with him. I was like, listen, dude, you don't throw hard enough. Your stuff isn't good enough. You're not strong enough. And, he's like, well, I'm gonna go pitch for the club team and I'm going to get stronger. And throughout the year, he kept giving me updates. I, gained 10 pounds, things like that. And, he came out, for the fall this year. And, there was, I couldn't say that he wasn't, better than some of the guys that we had on the field. So, when it became possible for him to join us full time, we put him on full time, and, he slowly but surely is, plugged away. And again, what a great story. I mean, pretty much, you got a kid hanging out in the dorms coming down and going to be a part of hopefully another really good UConn team. So, those would be the guys, the first year players, freshmen that could see some time.
All right, we'll wrap it up here. I know we've talked about this behind the scenes, but you felt like, hey, we were just one pitcher away in that super regional, possibly from going to Omaha. What is your mindset in terms of the depth? How many guys do you need, in terms of to go to be able to get through those regional rounds, those postseason rounds, to eventually get to Omaha?
Hopefully just 3, right? That'd be nice. Just pull Chicago White Sox. What was that? The 05 White Sox. You just every dude just throw a complete game and finish it off. I don't know how many, I don't know the exact number, but
you feel like you're close with your current.
Yeah, again, like the hardest part with this group is that at least in practice, at least during our live sessions, you feel like you have enough. But unfortunately, we haven't seen enough of them with the lights on when it's real. So I could sit here all day and go, oh yeah, there's no doubt. But I knew what I had in Austin Peterson. I knew what I had in Pat Gallagher. I knew what I had in Justin Willis, So what I would love to have, some awesome surprises like Devin Kirby last year coming back from the surgery and boom, gives us a shot in the arm. And, Devin Kirby, getting hot when he did is one of the main reasons that we had the story that we had. I mean, he really, we were using Justin a lot early on that year, and he probably needed a break, and Devin provided that break, and he was just as good, if not better than him, for almost a month there. So, what we're going to need to do it, we're going to need to have, again, probably 4 quality starters, and we're going to need 4 to 5 guys, not so much be lights out back there, but just tough back there. I hope that we have more. I hope we have more than that, but that's probably what you need to go through it. I think, like I said, I used to watch those games and be like, I don't know if we'll ever have enough to do it. I don't know. These teams are so good. And then, being there last year and being against somebody, Wake Forest was great. That was one of the best lineups we faced. That was one of the best pitchers we faced. Maryland, that environment was so tough and their lineup was great. And they're, Savacool, they're great. And then, obviously, when we went to Stanford, I mean, there might be 8 big leaguers from that team. And again, I think if we just played a little bit better defense in game 3, I think we may have went to Omaha. So for me, now seeing it and knowing how possible that it is, and hey, we probably were that good too. You just want another chance at it, but it doesn't matter. We can't fast forward to June right now. We got to go out and beat, Ohio State team that's coached by one of the best coaches in the country. So we have a a long and hard road ahead of us, but I do like the guys that we're going to take the journey with.
Great stuff as always. Thanks for the time, J Mac.
You're welcome.